MOVATI yogis, welcome back. My name's Stephanie. I'm going to be leading you through the 60-minute Hatha practice. It's going to be a fiery practice where we are going to be building strength throughout our static holds of the poses, working our way up to a pose called Nataranjasana, or Lord of the Dance. This is going to be a standing balance posture where we're going to be working on opening up through one side on both the hip flexors and through the arms. So today's practice is going to be a bit different, where we focus on opening up the chest and the shoulders compared to normally the focus being on opening up through the legs and hips. We'll still get some great low lunges in there to open up, but seeing if maybe it can be a little bit more accessible in that reach when we focus on the upper body. We will use a strap in the practice as well. If you're looking to deepen having that overhand grab towards the foot in your lunge or your dancers, we'll use the strap to help build opening into that space. Blocks are optional for the practice if you want. So grabbing those props, and when you're ready, I'll meet you on the mat. So we're gonna start out today's practice in a reclined bound angle. So simply rolling down onto our backs, knees are together, and then we're gonna bring the soles of the feet together and let the knees fall open, as if the feet were a book being opened flat on the desk, allowing the knees to gently start to sink down. We can use blocks or maybe a towel if we want a bit of support underneath the knees and outer thighs, or maybe letting the legs float there, feeling the little movements and flutters as the muscles start to release some tension, opening into the stretch. Hands can be by the sides, palms facing up, giving a little support to the outer thigh. Maybe laying the hands on the inside of the thighs, just applying a small amount of weight or pressure. You can always connect the hands onto the belly, creating that connection with the breath, bringing our awareness into the present moment. As always in our yoga practice, let's stop before we begin. Allowing there to be that break, that period ending the day that came before, maybe the week that came before, and allowing yourself to open up and be present in this moment for this practice here on your mat, knowing that the rest of the world, the rest of your day, your life will be waiting for you on the other side of this hour. And all that is asked of you here is to move and to breathe, being present in the body. Slowly taking a longer inhale through the nose and deeper exhale out of the mouth. Starting to create that 3-part breath, perhaps keeping one hand on the belly, one hand moving up to the chest. Taking a deeper inhale, filling up the belly, and then the ribs, filling all the way up into the chest to the collarbones. And then exhale, releasing in reverse order. The collarbones sink, then the chest empties, the belly empties last with a little contraction of our core. Inhale, allow the belly to inflate first, then the ribs, then the chest. Exhale with control, releasing the breath out in segments. Inhaling into the belly. Allow the ribs to expand in all 4 directions with the breath as we inflate. Exhale, we control the escaping of the breath. Finding this deeper connection to our diaphragmatic breath can be a very useful tool if we're doing cross-training with any sports or athleticism. Finding this control and extra space on our breath in, and the control on the release to keep us from getting into that panic, fight, or flight type of breath. Continuing here with one more deep belly inhale and exhale. Release the arms out onto the floor in a T shape at shoulder height. Palms are facing up. Bend the elbows at 90 degrees so that the forearms and hands still stay on the mat, but fingertips are now pointing overhead. On an inhale, we'll reach the arms overhead, staying on the mat, arms extend. Exhale, draw the elbows back down to shoulder height, football goalposts, if you will. Inhale, reaching overhead. Exhale, drawing the elbows down, trying to keep the shoulders, the elbows, and the triceps touching on the mat. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale, drawing down. We'll go once more. Inhale, reaching overhead. Exhale, coming down. This next inhale, bring the hands to the outside of the knees, gently assisting them to come together. Soles of the feet are now stacked. We're going to exhale to roll up into seated. Option to grab the back of the thighs to give an assist, or maybe reach the arms along the legs, curling up with our core, rising up. We're going to come into a leg stretch, actually, extending out through. So we're going to recline back down. Exhale, rolling down. A little bit of core work as we come down. Extend that left leg on the mat. Right knee draws in towards the chest. We can interlace fingers on the shin, hugging the knee in. Working a little bit of our hamstring extension. So options here. As we start to lift the heel up, we can interlace fingers on the back of the thigh, just below the knee, and then work to press the heel towards the ceiling, while the arms have a slight engagement, pulling thigh towards us. Maybe reaching the hands up, holding on the calf on either side, doing that same gentle action with the arms, pulling the leg closer. Maybe it's in your practice or in your body today to reach towards the ankle or wrap peace fingers around the big toe. If we're going with a one-hand hold, left hand comes onto the hip, and then on that inhale, just working the heel up a little bit higher, finding some extension through the back of the right leg, and then see if there's any movement space to bend into the elbow of the right arm or both arms a little bit deeper, hugging that thigh into the chest. If holding on to the back of the thigh or calf isn't working for you, you can always use that strap, wrapping it around the sole of the foot, and then using that as an extension for the arm. Exhale, release the right foot down. Draw the left knee in towards the chest, and then extend the right leg down onto the mat. At first, we hug the knee in towards the torso or just outside of our torso, working through the hip. And then slightly lifting that left heel. Hands once again can come behind the thigh, can come on either side of the calf or interlaced, maybe holding up at the ankle, or peace fingers wrapping around that big toe, opposite right hand coming onto the hip. Inhale, find some length, stretching through the heel, back of that left leg getting a little bit longer. fighting that urge for the shoulders to round and lift up off the mat, can we try to keep the upper body locked down? Maybe we need the strap here to make go-go gadget arms get a little bit longer. Exhale, is there any space we can make a micro bend in the elbows or that left arm, pulling the leg a little bit closer? It's okay if we have a slight bend in the leg. We're still feeling that stretch, I bet, across the left hamstring. And then exhale, release left foot down. Draw the soles of both feet pressing down. Now we're going to inhale with a little core lift to come up. So once again, hands can be on the outside or underside of the thighs, or maybe reaching forward. Inhale, lengthening through the spine. Exhale, curve, lifting up with that contraction of the core on our exhale. We arrive here, stretching out through the chest now in a seated table. So placing the hands just behind the hips here. So fingertips aren't directly in line with the back of the hips. Bring them a little bit further back. And then inhale, we're opening the chest up. Maybe finding a bit more extension through the arms. If you've got monkey arms like me, we're going to keep the elbows bent, just opening the chest up. Feeling a stretch across the shoulders as well as the front body. We can stay here in our seated table, or maybe coming up to reverse table, pressing into the feet, lifting the hips up, creating one nice long line from the knees through the hips into the shoulders. Fingertips are pointing towards the toes. Arms are spiraling in, lifting maybe a little bit of glute action. And then exhale, coming down. We'll come into our regular tabletop. So you can roll over crossed ankles or slide the feet to one side, coming on to hands and knees. Hands are directly underneath the shoulders. Knees are hip width apart. Tops of the feet are going to be flat. Moving through some cat-cows. On an inhale, tailbone lifts, belly, chest sink down between the arms. Head comes up last. Exhale, curling the tailbone under, rounding through the spine, pressing the hands. Inhale, letting that motion ripple through the spine. Head comes up last. Exhale, tucking under, rounding through spine, chin comes to chest. Continue moving and flowing at the pace of your own breath here. On that exhale, really pressing into the hands, widening across the back and the shoulders. On your inhale, letting the shoulders retract, coming together, opening the chest. Maybe finding space between the inhale and the exhale to pause in that furthest most stretch. On our next inhale, coming back to a flat or neutral spine, we're going to come into balancing table with the option for dancing table. So from here, inhale, right leg is going to reach back behind us. Leg is flexed, so toes are pointing down. Ankle is flexed, finding some engagement. Those muscles are wrapping around the leg bone. For a balancing table, we start to get lighter on those left fingers. Maybe we stay on the fingertips. Maybe left arm reaches forward, thumb pointing up, pinky finger pointing down. Can stay here, or coming into dancing table, we'll bend that right heel towards the seat, bending through the knee. Left arm starts to sweep back along the left side, looking to make that connection with the right foot. Once we feel that connection, pressing into that right hand, lifting out of the shoulder, and then exhale, right foot presses into that left hand, opening up through the chest, through the front of that right hip. Gaze can be forward just off the mat, employing our drishti gaze of intention without specific focus on a spot on the floor, but finding that intent and connection to the moment. Inhale, release to extend forward and back. Exhale, come back onto the mat. Feel free to take a cat-cow or maybe a wag the tail, loosening up the spine. We'll repeat on the other side. So on our next inhale, left leg reaches back, ankle flexed, toes pointing down. Not trying to lift that leg higher than the hips. Ideally, keeping the heel in line with the hips, with the shoulders. Inhale, lighter on those right fingers. When you're ready, extending the right hand forward. Trying to keep the hand, shoulder, hips, left leg all on the same plane here. We can stay in our balancing table, or if we want to go for a little dance in our practice, bending the left knee, heel comes towards the seat. Sweeping the right arm back, finding the ankle, top of the foot or toes. And then inhale, start to press the foot into the hand, not dumping into the chest. We're not sinking down here. Keep actively pressing into that left hand and left shoulder as we open up. Staying here for a few breaths. Trying to find the sensation in the pose, not that performative aspect of yoga sometimes of just looking for a shape and then letting go. Inhale, release forward and back. Exhale, coming down onto the mat. We're going to come back into child's pose. So on an exhale, sliding the hips back over top of the heels. Arms stay extended. Exhale, let the forehead bow down towards the mat. Option to stay here in child's pose. Or maybe start to walk the hands forward, coming into puppy pose. If the hands are close to the front of the mat, then start to walk the knees back, getting the knees stacked directly underneath the hips and allowing space for the heart to melt down onto the mat here. Forehead can tuck down, elbows and forearms press. If puppy isn't serving you, maybe finding a halfway position between puppy dog and child's pose. Whichever version of the two you're in, I invite you to bring the hands together in prayer. So pinky fingers pointing down, palms come together. And on an inhale, we're going to lift the forearms up off the mat, so just the elbows press down. We can keep the hands apart, but see if we can bring them towards one another, staying in prayer and lifting the fingers directly over top of the head, pointing towards the ceiling. Getting into the deep shoulder tissue, stretching them out, allowing that heart to really melt down, stretching out through the thoracic spine. Inhale, rising back up onto palms and forearms. We're going to come forward into a modified plank. So hands pressed down under the shoulders. Inhale, creating that nice long line from the knees through the hips to the shoulders. Exhale, chaturanga, lower all the way down. Coming into a wide cobra here. We're going to walk the hands out off of the mat, still in line with the shoulder, but just nice and wide. Fingertips are pressing down. And on an inhale, just like our cat-cows, peel the chest up off of the mat. Head coming up last, elbows bent. Exhale, melting down. 2 more times. Inhale, peeling up, feeling a bit of that shoulder strength helping lift. Exhale, coming down. One last time. Inhale, waving up. Exhale, melting down. On that next breath of inhale, bring the elbows underneath the shoulders, coming into Sphinx pose here. We can check how far spaced apart our elbows are by bringing hands to opposite elbows, just doing a depth check, making sure that we are balanced underneath the shoulders. Palms come back down, pressing into the mat parallel. Inhale, pulling the chest forward, Relaxing the glutes, coming into Sphinx. And then exhale, come back to a more neutral position. Left hand stays exactly where it is, pressing down. On an exhale, coming into half bow. So we're going to bend that right knee, bring the heel towards the seat, and then sweeping the right hand back. We can grab onto the shin, the ankle, or the tops of the feet, coming into more of a frog pose. If we're coming into bow, top of the foot or on the ankle, we'll inhale, start to press the right leg or foot into the right hand, opening up across the right pec and right shoulder. If we want to go for half frog pose, bringing the toes close like this, and instead of the fingers pressing back, we're going to bring them across the toes to reach forward, pressing the heel down, and elbow comes up. Still a great stretch across the pec and shoulder, but getting a much deeper stretch across the quadricep now. Exhale, release, bring right elbow back underneath the shoulder, resetting in Sphinx. Pressing into that right arm, we exhale, bend left knee in towards the seat, heel coming towards the bum, I should say. Left hand reaching back. So for our half bow, thumb is pointing up. We can grab either the foot or the ankle here, and then pressing left foot in towards, or pressing the left foot into the hand, reaching away from the body, opening up the left side of the chest, that left pec. If we want half frog on this side, bringing those fingers up once more so they're facing towards the front of your mat, wrapping over the toes, pressing the toes down into a pointed position, elbow comes up into a bent, getting that deep quadricep stretch, still feeling it across that left shoulder as well. Exhale, release the left side, coming back to our Sphinx pose. Two options as we combine the sides now. We can either come into locust pose, where we're going to extend and float the legs off the mat, doing the same thing with the arms, floating by the sides, using all back strength to help us lift, or maybe coming into bow pose, where we're going to reach both ankles or shins and lift up. So from this extended position, arms reach by the sides. Inhale, lifting the chest, arms float up, thumbs are facing down. On an exhale, starting to float the feet, the knees, maybe the thighs, coming up onto the pelvis, rocking with the breath a bit. If we want to come into bow, bending the knees, heels come towards the seat. We grab the outside edge of the ankles, thumbs facing down. And inhale, pressing the shins back, opening up the chest. Maybe the knees touch down. Can we get a little bit of glute engagement, lifting the thighs up so we really rock on the pelvis? And then exhale, lower down. Release the legs. Hands come underneath the shoulders, elbows hug in along the ribs. Inhale, rising up to tabletop position. Exhale, curl the toes, lifting the hips up, downward facing dog. Maybe adjusting our stance a little bit. We can pedal the legs, walking the dog, massaging out some tight hamstrings perhaps. For me, I'm feeling it more in the calves. Bringing the heels down gets that juicy stretch, best achieved by moving slowly with purpose. Perhaps inhaling onto the big tippy toes, legs nice and long, still finding that compression of upper body to thigh. And then exhale, slowly letting the heels come closer towards the mat. Inhale, bending the knees, gaze comes up to the hands, step or walk the feet forward to meet the hands at the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway. Exhale to fold. Inhale, reverse swan dive, coming all the way up. Exhale, palms come through heart center. Pausing here, reconnecting with the breath. We're going to move through some sun salutations now. Surya Namaskar A, so stepping back, just building a little bit of that internal heat. And then we'll repeat with Surya Namaskar C, where there's going to be a low lunge included. So from the top of the mat, in Samastitihi, ready pose, palms facing forward. Inhale, reaching overhead, maybe gaze follows. Exhale, floating down, forward fold. Inhale, halfway rise. Hands can come to the shins or stay connected on the mat. Exhale, step one foot back and then the other into plank. Always the option to drop the knees for a modified plank. Build that upper body strength. Exhale, chaturanga, lowering down. Inhale, peeling up for your back bend, maybe cobra, bhujangasana. Exhale, engage core towards the spine, can come through table, meeting in downward facing dog. Inhale, bending the knees, gazing forward. Step one foot forward, then the other to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sweeping the arms up overhead. Gaze can follow, baby back bend. Exhale, palms come down, heart center. Inhale, sweeping the arms up overhead. Surya Namaskar C. Exhale, floating down. Inhale, coming up halfway. Exhale, step the right foot backward as far as we can, and then right knee comes down into our low lunge. We're going to rise up here, so toes can stay curled under. We can always roll that long edge of the mat underneath for extra padding. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, draw hands to heart center. Inhale, reach up once more overhead. Exhale, folding down. Inhale, lift that right knee. Step the left foot back into plank. Exhale, chaturanga, lowering down. Maybe you hover. Inhale, peeling up for your back bend. Exhale, core engages. Maybe roll the toes over, downward facing dog. Inhale, stepping the right foot forward in between the hands. Dropping that left knee down, coming into low lunge on the other side. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, hands come down through prayer to heart center. Inhale, reaching up once more. Exhale, planting down. This time we step forward. Inhale, lift that left foot, bringing it forward beside the right. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sweeping the arms up overhead. Exhale, heart center. Repeat, stepping the left foot back this time. Inhale, we rise. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway. Left foot steps as far back as we can, and then bring the knee down to that low lunge. Inhale to rise. Exhale, hands come heart center. Inhale, reach. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lift that left foot. Step the right foot back into plank. Inhale, forwards. Exhale, chaturanga, lowering down. Inhale to peel up. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, step the right foot forward, and then the left to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise all the way up. In, hands overhead. Exhale, palms come down, heart center. So we'll start doing our standing series of poses here. So from the top of the mat, inhale, reach the arms overhead. Exhale, forward fold, coming down. Inhale, halfway, hands to shins or on the mat. Step the right foot all the way back once more. Low lunge on on the left side. Right knee is down. You can roll that long edge of the mat over for a bit of extra padding. Top of the foot can be flat here. On an inhale, we're going to rise up. Hands can be interlaced on top of the thigh, or maybe reaching them overhead, or keeping them at heart center is always an option available as well. Finding the position that works for you, bringing some of that engagement into the lower abdominals, noticing if we're tending to dump forward into our lunge. Can we pull back a bit? Tighten up our drawstring on our sweatpants, get that deep abdominal engagement. And then focus, instead of coming forward into the leg, can we try to come lower towards the heel? Whichever hand position we're in, release the hands by the sides. We can grab opposite elbows, or maybe interlace the fingers behind the back. And on an inhale, bring the gaze up and start to reach the knuckles or the forearms down towards the mat, opening the chest. If we're interlacing the fingers, we can let them slide down the back of the right thigh, or maybe come along the inside of the right thigh, intending towards the mat. Seeing if we can lift the arms maybe a little bit away from the body, opening the chest. And then inhale, coming back to upright. Exhale, folding down over the front leg, coming into Ardha Hanuman or half lunge. Exhale, pulling the hips back. We can keep the toes pressing down, getting a stretch through the calf a little bit more intensely. Or letting those toes lift up, but planting, staking that heel down, allowing us to fold over the left leg. Hands can remain up towards the foot, allowing more room for the torso to fold. Or maybe walking the hands back more in line with the knee under the shoulders, supporting the upper body, allowing you to focus a bit more on the fold and what's happening through the legs and hips. Can we draw that left leg deeper into the hip socket, allowing the right one to roll forward? Staying in this intense moment here. Maybe feeling it behind the knee, across the hamstrings, keeping the foot flexed, staying focused on the breath, getting us through these uncomfortable moments. Inhale, coming forward, back into our low lunge, walking the hands forward if we need to, planting the right hand down on the mat or on a block, revolve twist. Left hand can rise up onto the knee or reach all the way towards the ceiling. We don't have to stop here if the hand is extended, maybe allowing the body to really twist open so that left hand is now almost in our peripheral gaze as we look towards the ceiling. Exhale, releasing the left hand down. Curl the right toes under, lifting the right knee into a high lunge. Step that left foot back into plank. Option to come through a vinyasa, or perhaps meeting in downward facing dog. Bringing the feet a little closer, knees bent, allowing the heels to come closer to the mat once we arrive in our down dog. We're going to inhale, step that right foot forward in between the hands, low lunge on the right side. So left knee comes down, can always fold the mat over for a bit of extra padding here. On our inhale, rising up, whether interlacing on top of the thigh knee, reaching up overhead, or hands can come to heart center, palms at heart center. Again, finding that engagement, noticing if we're opening into the right hip to dump down in the leg, can we find some of that core engagement, stabilizing the pelvis, engaging the inner thigh muscles of the right leg, and then finding space to open into the left hip flexor, intending down towards that right heel. Exhale, release the hands. If we grab opposite elbows, noticing which hand is always on the bottom, switching it up, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. If we interlace the fingers, which finger and thumb are always on top? Can we go the other way? It's like shaking hands with a stranger. On an inhale, we're going to bring the gaze up. Start to tilt the collarbones towards the ceiling. Forearms can be sliding down the low back. Interlaced fingers maybe slide down towards the knee on that left leg. Opening the chest up into our back bend and heart opener. If this becomes too intense, you can always rise up into our standard low lunge position. Inhale, rising up, release the hands. Exhale, folding over the front leg. Inhale, a little bit of a lift. Exhale, draw the hips back. Ardha Hanuman on the other side. So again, toes can stay reaching down, but we might not be able to get that full extension through the leg. I like to flex the ankle, let the toes come up, plant the heel down, really get into the deep, meaty tissue on the underside of the leg here. Hands can remain more in line with the foot, folding forward. Noticing if you're listing over towards that left side, trying to keep the hips squared. And then let's draw that right femur into the hip socket. Left hip naturally rolls forward to counter. Breathing into that discomfort, that tingling, maybe even light burning sensation. Knowing this too shall pass. Trying to release some of that tension buried deep in the muscles. On an inhale, walking the hands forward, right foot comes back down, low lunge, left hand on a block or on the mat. Inhale, drawing up, right hand onto the right knee or reaching up towards the ceiling, revolve, twist. We can keep the right hand reaching up or maybe allow it to come over behind us so our gaze is straight above, but our hand is just over in the peripheral vision. Inhale, sweeping it back, forward and down. Exhale, curl the toes, lift that left knee. Inhale, we're going to step left foot forward to meet the right at the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, empty it out to fold down slowly. Inhale, sweeping the arms up overhead. Exhale, hands come down. Heart center. Pausing here. Finding that connection with the breath once again. On our next inhale, we're going to move into our next standing series, opening through a warrior two position. Inhale, reaching arms overhead. Exhale, forward fold, coming down. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, step the right foot back as far as we can. This time, warrior two. So left foot stays as it is. Right foot is coming parallel with the short side of the mat behind us. Inhale, let the right arm draw us up. Exhale, gaze comes over that left middle finger, gazing forward. Finding a bit more depth into our warrior position. Opening left knee towards the pinky toe side. Arms are engaged at shoulder height. Coming into cow face arms. So inhale, left arm coming up towards the ceiling. And then exhale, bend at the elbow and like you're giving yourself a pat on the back here. Right arm sweeps along the low back, palm facing in. We maybe can make that connection between the fingers if it's in the practice, but don't let the ego take over here. Even if there is a gap between the hands, can we contract the arms towards one another, getting into this shape? Maybe even grabbing our shirt on both places, using that like a strap. Or if you want to grab your strap at home, dangling it from that top hand and then grabbing the bottom with the right and then just opening up here. Seeing if we can create some space for the head, not bringing the arm and bicep to crunch. Elbow reaches straight up. Inhale, gaze can come up as well. Still sinking in that warrior stance. We haven't started to rise up. Can we still find our depth? And then exhale, release, coming back, warrior two, left hand forward, right arm back. Release the hands by the sides, interlacing once more behind the back or grabbing opposite elbows. Inhale, pull the knuckles down, open the chest. Exhale, start to bow forward, humble warrior. Left shoulder can stack on top of the left knee. Hands can release down, coming under the shoulders for a bit more support, letting the torso dip down along the inside of the thigh. Or maybe with the hands interlaced, we're going to bow down deep inside of the thigh, letting the hands reach up off the back, overhead. In challenging poses like this, we can add a bit more talent by trying to smile into the intensity. Inhale, rising up. We can always place left hand on top of that knee to help us come back up. Exhale, cartwheel the hands down either side of the front foot. Right heel lifts. And then bring the right knee down, coming into our low lunge. We're going to go for a grab on that back foot. So we have two options, three options really. Using our arms, we can always use the strap to create an extension as well. We can always roll the mat over for a bit of extra padding. Bring the heel towards the seat, rising up, interlacing fingers on top of the thigh. Option one keeps the chest and hips forward. We reach right hand back to the outside of the right foot, making the connection here, coming into our grab. If we want to go a little bit deeper, hands come down. We're going to do a revolved grab, so heel toe, left foot out of the way on the outside of the left hand. We bend through the right knee once again, but this time open up and left hand comes back to the inside of the right foot. Or reaching for the outside of the right foot, the thumb is going to be on the inside. And then finding some space to go a little bit deeper in our lunge, looking back at the foot. If we're wanting to work on our overhead connection and grab in our dancer's pose, you can grab your strap, creating a little slip for your foot to go in. If you're in one of the other two lunge positions, holding on there, making that connection, noticing as the hips start to get fatigued from the effort. Do we find that stability is lost in the hips? Can we keep that strength through our lunge as we go deeper into the back bend? So for that overhand grab, we're going to slide the strap over the foot, seeing how I've made a little loop here. We're going to keep the hips squared forward like version 1. Bring that strap up overhead. Both hands can grab. And then slowly starting to work the hands closer towards the foot on the strap, getting that overhead stretch. And then exhale, releasing the foot down, sliding the strap off. All options, foot comes down, both hands come back on the mat, maybe bringing the left foot in between the hands. Curl the right toes under. Inhale, right knee lifts. Exhale, step it forward in between the hands. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, fold. Grab opposite elbows, a little bit more of a ragdoll shape. We can have that bend in the knees. Sway side to side. Inhale, sweeping arms up, reverse swan dive. We rise to mountain. Exhale, palms come down, heart center. We're going to move through warrior two on the other side. Same sequence. I'm going to move to the other side of the mat so that you can see me the whole time, opening up. So from our mountain, inhale, reaching arms up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, step left foot back as far as we can. Pivot the heel down so that it's parallel with that short side. Left arm is going to rise up. Exhale, right fingers forward, warrior two. Virabhadrasana 2. Coming into cow face arms. Inhale, right arm straight up. Give yourself that pat on the back for a good job. And then bring the left hand behind. Again, let that ego go about making the finger connection the most important part. Just reaching the hands together is the most important part here. Whether we're grabbing the shirt in between or squeezing the muscles, opening through that left pec and that right shoulder. Do we have space for the head to rise up? Did we forget about our warrior two stance? Did we let the hips come up? Sinking back down. Release the hands, warrior two once more. Bring them down behind the back. Maybe fingers interlace or forearms stack. On the exhale, let the heart lead as we bow forward, humble warrior. Shoulder can stack on top of the knee. Hands can release to the mat, or with a smile, to go for the added challenge, slide the shoulder inside of the thigh and maybe bow the top of the head down. Hands coming up off the back, reaching overhead. Holding here, 2 more breaths. You got this, yogis. And then inhale, slowly rising back up, warrior two. Exhale, cartwheel the hands down. Left heel rises up and left knee can come all the way down. Warrior one, Anjaneyasana on that right side. Same grab options if we're wanting to use the strap, getting it prepped, slipping it around the foot, ideally around that center arch on the foot. From our low lunge, we can inhale, hands come up on top of the thigh. Bending through that left heel, left hand grabs the outside of the foot. If we want to go deeper with maybe a twist in our grab, bringing both hands inside of the right foot. And then opening right arm up and back, bending that left foot and grabbing the outer edge of the left foot. If we're working on our overhead stretch for dancer's pose with the hips and chest forward, bending the knee, reaching the strap straight overhead, and then slowly walking the hands closer and closer to the foot. Holding here that deep quad stretch right through the connections to the knee. And then exhale, release all the options. Foot comes down. Moving the strap off the foot towards the side of the mat. Inhale, pressing into the toes, lifting that left knee, and then stepping left foot forward beside the right at the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sweeping the arms up overhead. Exhale, hands to heart center. Okay, yogis, we've made it to our peak pose, Nadaranjasana, dancer's pose. So from here, we're going to start our prep. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see a little bit more of what's happening through the arm and leg positioning. Option if you're going to use the strap, placing it on the foot right from the beginning. So I'll demo without first, and then we'll see how it goes. So from Samastitihi, our ready position, rooting down through the feet, through all 10 toes, looking or feeling through the heels. Can we find the inner and outer corner of the heels? Do we have a tendency to hyperextend the knees? Slight little micro bend, as if the thigh muscles could pull the kneecaps up. Starting on that right side, get a little bit lighter, lift the heel. Left hand can be on the front of the hip. Let's contract and bring the heel towards the seat. Keeping the knees side by side as we bend that right leg. This is a fantastic quad stretch, especially for runners. Maybe we want to stay here. If we want to go a bit deeper, slide the grip to the inside edge, thumb facing up. Hand can come to heart center is my favorite here. Exhale, we start to bow forwards, allowing that right knee to lift up, countering the chest coming forward. If it's comfortable here, maybe pressing foot into hand, stretching and opening up. Left hand can leave the heart, reaching forward. If we're using the strap, very similar to that position, we're going to start with the strap on the foot. Same starting position, heel to bum, but then coming through the length of the strap, just like our low lunge, reaching it overhead until both hands can connect. Hugging the inner thighs together, we then start that stretch of coming forward, countering through that back leg, lifting, working the hands back, hug those elbows forward and squeeze them together, reaching up. On an inhale, coming back to a controlled mountain pose. Exhale, release the strap, release the leg, giving it a little bit of a shake. We're repeating on the other side. So when you're ready, right hand comes on the right hip, lighter onto that left foot. Inhale, pull the heel towards the seat. Left hand comes down, grabbing the inside of the foot. We can stay here. If we want to stay in this deep quadricep stretch, bring the hand on the outside so we can really hug the heel in, keeping the thighs and knees side by side parallel. If we're going that deeper position, hand comes on the inside of the foot. I like my thumb to be across the arch. Right hand can move up to heart center. Exhale, start to hinge forward, thinking about that left knee lifting up into space. No pressing yet, just the knee lifting, chest forward. Option as we start to press the foot into the hand, reaching right arm forward. Moving at your pace. There is no rush here. Finding a bit of core engagement too. Maybe working once we open up into straightening the standing leg, rooting into those four corners once more. On an inhale, coming back to dancer's pose, coming back to mountain pose, releasing here. We're going to come into gorilla pose. So inhale, reach the arms up overhead. Exhale, ragdoll, fold down, deep bend in the knees. For gorilla pose, we're going to lift the toes and soles of the feet up. Palms, we've got that nice deep bend in the legs so the palms can come down flat with the center of the palm facing up. We're going to slide the hands underneath the feet so that the toes are right up at the heel of the hand against the wrist. And then inhale, find a bit of length to stretch through the legs. They're probably not going to straighten, but that pull is going to straighten through the arms, helping with the wrists, the shoulders, and the hamstrings a bit. Exhale, bending the knees, softening elbows too. And then inhale once more, finding a bit more length. And then bend the knees, release the hands one by one. Stepping back into a plank position. Don't worry, no more chaturangas here. Downward facing dog, lengthening through the wrists, through the shoulders to the hips. Pressing the feet down. And then bring the knees down onto the mat. Come into child's pose. Keeping thighs together this time, just giving some support for the low back as we bow down over the legs. Arms can stay extended or maybe sweeping along the sides, grabbing onto the feet, allowing the chin to tuck down, forehead or top of the head coming on the mat. Inhale, bringing the gaze up. We're going to come into a seated position. So maybe rising through table, ankles to one side or rolling over, crossed ankles. Come into a comfortable seated position, ankles crossed in front of one another. We're going to come into just a seated twist here. So let's bring left hand on top of the right knee. Inhale, right arm straight overhead. And then exhale, reaching the right hand back, slowly coming all the way down onto our mat. Maybe it's fingertips, maybe the palm presses down. But we inhale, finding length through the spine, like there's that string being drawn up through the spine and through the crown of the head. On an exhale, getting a little deeper into the twist. Can we find one more lengthening inhale? Exhale, wringing out the torso a little deeper. Inhale, come back to center, release the arms. Exhale here. Bringing the right hand outside of the left knee this time. Inhale, left arm comes straight up, nice long spine. Exhale, left arm reaches back, gaze can follow, looking over that left shoulder. Inhale, finding a bit of length. Exhale, twisting deeper. Maybe that right hand is pressing with just a little bit of energy, deepening the twist. Finding that full belly breath here is acting like a massage for all the internal organs that we squeeze and release. Can really aid in digestion as well. Seated twists can be great to do in the morning, seated in bed or on the floor beside our bed. Inhale, gaze comes back to center, releasing the hands. We're going to roll down onto our backs, coming close to ending our practice just how we began. Again, we can hold onto the legs to ease down, or maybe that last challenge, arms reach forward, thumbs up. Smiles are ready. Exhale, slowly recline down onto our backs, onto the mat. We'll bring the left heel in as close as we can to the seat. Bring right knee into the chest. And then flexing the right ankle, place it just above, on the thigh, just below the knee. Opening up so that if we look down, we see that number 4. Option to stay here with right hand pressing the knee away. Or lifting the heel up of the left foot, draw that thigh in towards the chest, bringing that right shin up into the chest for a reverse pigeon. We can hold interlaced on the back of the left thigh, hugging in. Maybe grabbing on top of that left shin with the interlaced fingers. Just trying to create an equal press so that the right knee isn't hugging down, it's at the same height as that left leg. Seeing if we can relax the shoulders down. And then exhale, release left foot, release the right foot down. Repeat on the other side, left ankle is flexed, just below the knee on the thigh. Inhale, draw that left shin into the chest. We can interlace behind the thigh, or maybe bringing it on top of the shin. Exhale, hugging a little bit closer. Marinating in that deep stretch of the outer hip and through the glute. Maybe noticing if that intensity starts to fade away as the muscles lengthen. Can we pull or squeeze the biceps, finding that edge once again. Exhale, release, right foot down and then the left. Take any final movements or stretches the body's calling for. Could be happy baby or rocking side to side. When you're ready, extend the legs out on the mat. You've made it to the final pose of the practice, Shavasana. Extend the arms, palms facing up. I invite you to take one last deep belly breath. Fill up the belly, fill up the chest, holding it in. And then let go. Allowing your physical body and giving yourself permission to just deflate and let go. There's nowhere else you need to be right now except here on your mat in this present moment. I invite you to stay here for as long as you can, hopefully for 5 more minutes. If you do need to end your practice closer to that 60-minute mark, slowly bring awareness back into the fingers, into the toes, with small movements, gradually becoming larger. Awareness of the breath, a deeper inhale and longer exhale. Perhaps reaching arms overhead like that early morning stretch from our fingers to our toes. Exhale, drawing everything in, hugging knees to chest. You can roll over into fetal position on one side, reminding us after every ending is a new beginning. Slowly making our way to seated, gaze is soft, perhaps eyes closed. I invite you to join with me in a chant of Om one time to close practice, perhaps saying it out loud or just enjoying the vibration. We'll take an inhale to chant. Om. Namaste, yogis.